Hey guys, Jason, Colorado Mountain Man Survival, out here in the woods, out in the mountains near Cripple Creek, and I'm out collecting cottonwood bark to help me start a fire. This is a big cottonwood tree behind me. It's a live tree. That's not the bark that I want. What I'm looking for are dead trees, and when you find them, I've got a little piece here in my hand I just dropped. But this is cottonwood bark off of a smaller cottonwood. I'm going to walk back over to that tree and show you what it looks like on the ground. This here is probably a small tree that died, got knocked over, but there it is on the ground. If you look at this bark, I can peel this stuff off. Let me switch this around here real quick. The bark on this small cottonwood, as you can see, this stuff is very fibrous, hair-like, and just peels right off. That's exactly the kind of fire starting material that I want to start a nice fire. And then once I get this going, I can start this with a lighter or a ferro rod or matches or whatever your preferred method is. And that stuff breaks down really great. Once it gets going, then I'm going to add kindling to it to get it started better. Here's another tree over here. This one's slightly larger. You can see there's that material underneath that main layer of bark. Peel this off, and there's that stuff you're going to use for your fire. So I'm going to take a little bit of this. I'm going to leave the rest of it for later. You can see all that down there. I can pull that off and get to that underlying material. But I'm going to go find a larger tree and show you that you can collect it even from a larger tree that's down on the ground. But I'm going to go throw this back at my camp, which is right up here. We'll walk up here real quick. There's my fire pit. There's where I'm sleeping. So I'm going to put that right there and go get me some more material. There's some smaller twigs for the next stage and then slightly larger. But let me go find this other larger piece of cottonwood and I'll show you that you can get it from a bigger tree. Alright, so here's a bigger chunk of cottonwood. You can see that's considerably bigger. That's a branch that came off of this huge cottonwood tree that just broke off and fell along the side of this game trail here. As you can see, I actually pulled some of that bark off earlier to make a fire the other day, but still I can pull that whole piece off right there, and this cottonwood bark can come off. It's a little bit harder to get off here, and actually this is not a great piece, but this could still work. And see, I can peel that stuff off. I can break that down. See if there's some more here. Yeah, there's some good stuff. So that stuff I can peel off. So you might not always find the greatest piece to start with, so keep looking. But I'm going to take this bark back to camp. I'm going to process it real quick, and then we'll use my ferro rod to start a fire. So here's the little stuff off the little tree that I collected first. I'm going to process this real quick. So all I got to do, I take off these bigger chunks of bark. All I'm going to do is make a little bundle of this and rub it around in my hands. And I'm just trying to break this up so it starts a fire better, or will take a spark better. The more you can get it fibrous and hair-like in little pieces, the better it works to catch that spark. This works great for a bow drill fire. If you're trying to blow an ember from a bow drill fire, this would be your bird's nest. But I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to use this for my tinder bundle with the ferro rod, so it'll start pretty easy. But I spend time to break your tinder bundle down, your bird's nest down, so it's nice and fine. The more time you spend processing this, the better results you're going to have when you get ready to start that fire. But I'm going to just crush this up. If this bark is too old, it's just going to kind of turn into powder. If it's the right age though, you'll get this nice nest. So that's the stuff that I collected off of that little tree. It works pretty well. I'll put this over my fire. All right, so here is that larger piece, and I'm just going to peel this stuff off. Sometimes this stuff works great, better than the little trees. Sometimes it doesn't. You just have to check each piece out. But this stuff right here seems like it's going to work just fine. You can see it pulls off in these nice long strips. So here we got these strips. I'm going to process it the same way. I'm just going to break this down, rub it between my hands, and break it apart. If I have dry grass, I do the same thing with dry grass as I do with this cottonwood bark. I go for the really gray dead grass. I don't go for yellow grass, definitely not green grass. But I'm just going to break this down, like I said before, and crush that up. I got another smaller pile over there with the really fine stuff. I worked a little bit more, so maybe I don't need to break this down as much. But I'll set this off to the side. I'll get that other tinder bundle started. If I need to add more kindling or tinder, I'll add this to it in case that isn't enough. And then I'll start adding slightly larger twigs. Keep all this dust too. You can put that in there. That'll help burn. And once you get going, you can keep these. You can put these bits of bark in there. I'll typically break these up into manageable pieces, and I'll get those started. There's some good stuff that I can use for later. There's a lot of down cottonwood out here, so I don't necessarily need to save this, but I'm going to go ahead and start this fire so you can see how easy this is to get going. Welcome to my fire pit. Okay, so I'm going to start the tinder bundle right here. I've got this processed down a little bit. Right next to me, right in the fire pit, I've got all the larger kindling that I'm going to add to it. I like to have everything processed and ready to go, broken down, so I'm not scrambling. Once I get this tinder bundle going, I'm going to be able to immediately feed more material to it without running around. Last time I started the fire, I used my little ferro rod that I always have around my neck with a bit of ceramic. I'm going to use the bigger ferro rod. Normally I would use my knife to start this. It's pretty easy to get it going with a knife and a large ferro rod. But just to show you that it can be done, and for a little bit more of a challenge to get this going, I'm going to be using a piece of quartz. So quartz rock, quartz crystal, whatever, you can use this to strike your ferro rod. Same with flint. It's just sort of like flint and steel. You can use quartz on steel. So if you got carbonized steel to strike a fire for brain fart, for char cloth, sorry, you can use the same thing on your ferro rod. So I went down to the river, found me a big piece of big quartz rock. I actually had to break this one because you need to have a sharp edge and you can make a spark. So I'm going to try and start again this tinder bundle, bird's nest, with quartz and my ferro rod. Let's see if I have any luck. Almost. Here we go. So a little bit more challenging with the quartz rock than with just my knife and a ferro rod, but got a fire going. So if for whatever reason you lost your knife and you still had your ferro rod, you could still get things going. But I'm gonna tend to this fire and make sure I add more wood to it so it doesn't go out on me, and make dinner. So there you have it. Cottonwood bark for your tinder bundle works great. Don't forget about that, using flint or quartz on your ferro rod. Hope you learned something. I'll see you again next time.